And by 22, I became the youngest financial advisor in Barclays in the country.
Although I haven't seen the role model, I'm going to become the role model. A lot of us have got nice bags and there's no money in the bag.
Being a black gay man, you can't really be part of the family.
Oh, I'm always going to be broke. Then guess what, ladies and gents? You're always going to be broke.
A family member who kicked me out of a house at the time because she was like, we can't accept this.
We get told, don't make people know your business.
Manuel, let's open it up. What made you want to get into the finance world and learn about finances?
Good question. So I always tell people this, and basically it was my environment. So I grew up in a place called Tower Hamlets in East London. I lived in a place called Limehouse. In my house, to my Nigerian parents, if you left the light on in the kitchen, it was a problem. Anyone ever got in trouble for leaving the light on?
No, serious?
In the kitchen? It's a big problem.
Lights?
Because you see when you ain't got money, you see when money tight, and you walk in that kitchen and the light on and nobody's in there, you know money is being wasted.
Yes.
And it's painful. Because you know that your boss talked to you reckless, you had to suck it up so you could pay this bill. And now your kid just making the bill further, much bigger.
Yes.
So I used to get in trouble. Lick down.
No, seriously.
Lick down, you know, and obviously I got Nigerian parents. They like to play games with their things, do you know what I mean? So my mum will be beating me, telling me, like, oh, you're making too much noise, I should be quiet. And then you be quiet, your mum say, oh, I'm not hitting you hard enough, that's why you're not talking. So you don't know which one is to follow. So you just have to faint. You know them, you just have to collapse. Oh, just fall to the ground. You know that them one's there. And then they leave you.
Yeah.
And I go to my room, I look out the window, and I see these buildings in Canary Wharf. 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. Everyone's gone home. All the lights are on. I said, rah, they must be rich. I can't leave one light bulb in the kitchen. And these men can leave 100 floors. All the lights are on. I said, I gotta be there. And by 22, I became the youngest financial advisor in Barclays in the country.
Jeez, let's get a round of applause for that, please.
And
that's amazing.
And for me, that's about having a vision bigger than yourself. I think sometimes for a lot of us, when it comes to, we're sitting here right now, you might be thinking to yourself, I'm about to go into my overdraft, or in fact, when was the last time I was out of my overdraft? Some of us get paid and we're still in that overdraft. And you're looking at your current situation. And the biggest lesson I learned when it comes to money and finance and everything is that where my current situation is not a representation of who I am or what I'm doing. So I need to think about where I'm going to rather than where I'm at. And those buildings in Canary Wharf became my vision board. Forget that I'm in poverty, forget I'm in a council estate. I can see where I want to be, and that's my focus. Forget where I'm at. And I think for a lot of people, if that's one message I would tell anyone, is that don't worry if you're overdraft, everyone's chasing you. When the door knocks, you get scared, is it bailiff coming to collect? That's just a current situation. Where are you trying to get to? And do you have a plan to get there?
Paula's like my sister. When did your life start changing? What did you do to change your situation that I know has created or broken a generational curse?
Greetings, everyone. So that started from me seeing my environment. As far as I was concerned, I didn't have a role model back then. Now you've got the internet, you've got mentors, you've got loads of different things that you can say, I want to follow. I didn't have that. I didn't have no one that said, I want to be like Auntie so-and-so. I didn't have that at all. So from a young age, I decided that I'm going to be different. Back then, I said it different. I'm not going to be like anybody around me, right? That's how I said it then. But I made a choice from a young age to say, you know what? My environment does not dictate my future. Just because I'm not seeing it does not mean that I can't be it. So I made a conscious decision to be a change that I wanted to see in my community. One of the biggest forces of the drivers were I had my eldest daughter when I was 16, and I promised that this child would not experience anything that I experienced growing up in my childhood. So that's where it became a dedication that although I haven't seen the role model, I'm going to become the role model. And that's actually happened and experienced. I was the child that grandma would say, "Una na fala pala." I was that child, right? Kicked out of school, had a child young. And before I made the changes for my children, but also for others. And it was about breaking cycles. Because sometimes in our families, we go through cycles because when you don't know better, you can't do better. But when you know better, it gives you the opportunity to be able to do better. So I wanted to... I'd done many things in my life, became the first person to do many things in my family where grandma...
Speak them quickly.
Okay, so I was the first person in my family to go to university, first person in my family to have a profession, first person in my family to earn over a certain threshold. Firstly, the person in my family to own property or multiple properties. So I'm the first to do many things from that child. Uno no fala pala.
All right.
So it's a blessing because bless my gran before she left. She was like, "Una, I talk to Paula." So things changed round. But for me, starting what I do with my business, it was like nobody didn't tell me these things. And especially the room is full of people that look like me. So it's my community here. When it comes to finances, as black people, we don't like talking about it. We don't want no one to know our business. We don't want to seek help. We just don't want anybody to say, boy, it's a shame thing sometimes. And we get told, you not put out your dirty laundry. We get told, don't make people know your business. And I believe that was something that was stifling us, especially in our finances. I believe I was one of the first people to start making it bringing the conversation about finances that it's something we can talk about comfortably. And I done it speaking about my own story. So when people say, "Raw, that's what you've done. We come from the same ends. We come from the same background. We've had the same things. Well, if you can do it, I can do it." And that's what I believe that everybody is able to do. But the key thing is, Emmanuel touched on it as well. This is very important.
Mindset.
It's the mindset is very important. We can all achieve what we want to achieve, even if we don't think that we have it now. What is the future plan? What is the mindset? Is the mindset, "Oh, I'm always going to be broke"? Then guess what, ladies and gents?
Gonna be broke.
You're always going to be broke.
All right.
But if the mindset is different, then you will be able to make those changes. I'll just leave that there.
Always. Thank you very much, Paula. Man. Thank you, man. Please tell everyone a bit about your background and what role do you play in finances?
Sure. I'm Nzube Ofadike, and I work in several capacities. I have a portfolio career. I'll say my kind of primary role is around investing. So I do operate as an angel investor. I do advise businesses that are looking to raise capital, and I support them with their fundraising, their strategy, and other aspects. It's typically pre-seed to Series B, venture capital, mostly fast-growing tech companies. My background, obviously from my name you can tell, Nigerian heritage, born in Birmingham, spent time growing up in Nigeria before returning here. And my parents were very keen for us to own our heritage. I remember growing up and I'll ask my dad, "Okay, why don't me and my brothers have English names?" And he'd say, "Ask your English friends. Do any of them have Igbo names, right?" So there was a sense of, and I couldn't deny that Igbo-ness, that part of my heritage, right? And then growing up in Nigeria after leaving here as young children, you could see success in all spheres, So you'd see people with huge houses, with swimming pools, see people in the government, see people in the hospital. So I didn't have any mental barriers as to where I could go. And my parents are also professionals. So dad is a zoologist, he's retired now, but he's really, when he retired from his one job in academia, he moved on to real estate, something he'd been doing for a while. He'd always been into businesses. And when he first retired, he actually spent time working in retirement with 7 other universities. That was his idea of retirement, as a guest professor. My mom, pharmacist, ran her pharmacy, grandparents also educated. So there was a degree of expectation that was set on me from, I had those role models internally within my family and also around me. So I know I had that degree of privilege, but I also had to kind of stand on my own 2 feet early because being who I was, being a black gay man, meant that family also created their own kind of, we're not going to support you as much. So you need to go do your own thing because you can't really be part of the family. So with that, I had to go through my own journey where, I remember a family member who kicked me out of her house at the time because she was like, "We can't accept this." And I had to stay in hostels at points after I graduated. But for me, all of that was just a process. I knew what I was aiming towards. I knew that wealth creation was part of what I wanted to do. I'd already been privileged to study and get a degree in a good university. And I'd already started to get the knowledge required. I knew that the gaps I had in my knowledge were around finance. I knew how to do business to an extent through learning from family, but finance is another aspect of business that's quite nuanced. You need to understand the balance sheets, the cash flow statements, the P&Ls. You need to understand the types of capital that can be allocated to your venture. You need to understand how to get the right investment partner that can collaborate with you to take your business to the next stage. So I spent a lot of time getting that knowledge, took the CFA level 1, that's a Chartered Financial Analyst exam, worked in banks, in some of the largest banks in the world, UBS, Credit Suisse, PIMCO, Henderson Global Investors. So for me, it was all a process to get the knowledge I needed in financial education, and now I share that with small to medium-sized businesses. And thanks for the plug on my podcast. It's called Crowncast. If you run a business and you want to understand the types of financial options that exist for you, it's Crowncast.
Round of applause, please. What are bad spending habits, what they could cut back on, where they can have enough money to invest?
I'll say that as well, Dex. But it's so important, and this is something that was important to me when I started doing about financial literacy, is because especially we've got this thing about perception. We look at how people perceive us. So a lot of the time, I remember doing an event with just all men, and I said a lot of us are driving around in cars that we can't afford. And some of them sunk. And at the end, one of the guys came up to me and he said, Paula, what you're saying is true, because I've got a car and I'm struggling with these monthly payments. And if you just ease yourself back a little bit and just something was comfortable for yourself for now, because a lot of the times we want things now. We're not about the waiting and the growing and in the investing, and then that will pay for the lifestyle that we want. We want things now. And the perception of how, as Eman said, we're looking at perception. A lot of us have got nice bags and there's no money in the bag. And I always say, no, and then it's not, no, it's real. We've got the Louis Vuitton bag that might be 300, 400, 500 pound, but we haven't got 400, 500 pound in the bank. So there's a difference. And I got this thing that I said to someone one time, said, if you've got, say, let me just give the analogy here. If you've got £100 and something costs £90, for example, you can't afford it. You can't afford it. Yes, you've got the 100, I can buy it, but you can't afford it. So we need to be looking at that in terms of how we do things. And as Eman said, I always believe we have got the money that we want, but it's what your priorities are. What is your priorities? Because some of us, we say we haven't got any money, and I'm just speaking to us as females now because I know what the females spend, but hairs cost, our nails cost, the eyelash cost. I'm not saying you mustn't have these things, people, because I like to look nice. We must look nice. But what is the priority right now? Is my priority to get me out of debt for a minute? So I'm going to sacrifice these things for a little bit to be able to take myself out of the red, to be able to save for a little bit. What is the priorities? And wherever your priorities are, your money will flow to that. So that's just something there. Just to add on.
On the 5 second here, tell them
the car. I drove the same car, my lovely A2, I love it, for 14 years. And I had friends around me that were saying, Paula, you're tight, man. Why don't you buy yourself a new car? But the car wasn't important to me because I don't really drive. I'll drive a Lada, all right? The car's not important to me. And I remember wanting the next car I wanted, which was a Q3. And I thought, God, I don't need this right now. But I drove one. When I drove one, I thought, oh, I like this. And I remember saying, God, if I find a grey, because I want it in grey, S-Line, automatic, because I've driven manual all my life, I might consider it. So I was looking for it, then I saw it. But guess what, guys? It wasn't my money that paid for it. It was the investment money that had return on the investment, the profits, that I thought, I'm going to draw that out and buy the car, because it's been 14 years, all right, I do need a little upgrade. But it wasn't something that was a priority to me. But that's how the car came about, because I looked at it, there was investment money that I was able to take out some of the profit and buy a new car. So it's just about those things that, what is important? What is your priority? What things are you able to do to get you into a place where you are able to be looking for investment opportunities? Because we can all invest, as Eman will tell you, as a lot of the other panel members and myself. And when I do events, there's investments that you can invest for £1 into companies, 50 pence, right, you man? Everyone's got a level, but you just got to start at your level and grow from there.
Beautiful, beautiful.